Hello and welcome to this presentation by Daryl Webster at Olympic Software. We're going to be looking at the administrative tasks email that you've probably received since receiving your service upgrade, and some other things we're going to look through today too are the changes in Office 365 and what would have upgraded to. So initially I just want to introduce Malcolm Bramley, who's also on the call, and he's works in our team here, Smart Stuff at Olympic Software with the Office 365 team. And we've really just put this meeting together to try and make it a more practical forum for people to discuss the service upgrade and the administrative tasks email. So many of the people who have been using Office 365 since the 2010 versions of the product have been upgraded to Office 2013 and the new 2013 set of products. And following that, there are some administrative tasks to perform to bring you up to speed with the new services. So you would have received an email, something like this, and it's tailored to the way that Office 365 has observed you using their services. For instance, if you're accessing Office 365 using a Windows XP machine, or perhaps a version of Outlook that is running a bit behind in some of the updates, then the list of tasks will be customized to your particular usage. So just as a quick run through of some of the tasks in this message, we're looking at a example where this organization is using Office 2010, or some of the computers are using Office 2010, and this email is alerting them to the fact that they are running perhaps a service pack behind. So there are some tasks here that will need to be performed for Office 2010 to perform better and to connect more efficiently with the Office 365 services. So this service pack too, it can be downloaded, and there's the various resources within this email to show you where to download it and run it. One of the common upgrade tasks after a service upgrade is upgrading your site collections in SharePoint. Now, some of you may not be using SharePoint at all, or some not as much as others. You may even just be synchronizing your files to from your SharePoint libraries, and you don't even visit the website. However, the task to upgrade the site collection is quite an important one. It's bringing you up to speed with the 2013 set of products and services, and it does offer a number of different ways to more simply share your documents with your team and with people outside of the organization. So that task is something that has to be done manually, and you can do that from visiting your site collection and within the SharePoint administrative tasks in the admin panel. As I mentioned before, there's a task there about warning you that Windows XP will soon be out of the support lifecycle, and on the 8th of April there won't be any more service packs or security updates produced for XP. But in addition to that, if you were to call Office 365 support and request some help, and one of the questions they're going to ask is what Windows platform you're on, perhaps. If you're on Windows XP, they are going to request that you upgrade that. So that's another thing to look out for. As I say, access to it won't be blocked, but they won't be offering support for it. There are some additional updates that you need to install for Outlook 2010. A good chance of that you've probably had those installed already. There was an issue when organizations were switched over to the new Office 365 products, that Outlook 2010, some people were experiencing connection problems, and there was an update that was missing that was required to connect to the new Exchange Online. And similarly with Outlook 2007. So you get the picture that these emails are quite customized. I can show you another example which there are some similarities. And this one, again, you've got the Service Pack 2. You've got an upgrade to SharePoint Online site collections. That site collection administrative task will be in just about every email, unless you're not using SharePoint at all. It's not part of your subscription, then it won't be there. There's one here that we haven't mentioned yet, but some subscriptions include Office 365 Pro Plus, and that's the Office desktop software. So this is just alerting you to the fact that, hey, you've subscribed to this service, and part of the motivation for subscribing to the service is that you can get the latest version of Office software. So it's detecting that you are perhaps accessing the services using Office 2010, and that you do have Office 2013 as part of the product, and that you can upgrade that. So there are some more instructions there about how to do that too. If you're using Lync, making use of using Lync, there's also a recommendation to upgrade from Lync 2010 to the Lync Basic, which is the 2013 version of the product. So that's a quick run through of some of the administrative tasks that you may have to perform after your service upgrade. Now, what does that entail, and what does that give you? Well, we're just going to take a quick walk through some of the features within Office 365, and you may or may not have experienced that already by going to the portal and experiencing the SharePoint product and the admin panel. So we're going to have a quick look at that. First off, just looking at the admin panel, this is an example of the enterprise plan, the E3 plan, and as you can see already, the dashboard is very different. Along the top there, we've got a better way of navigating through the Office 365 services. So these first three icons pull together the Outlook web app. You go into your mailbox here. This obviously is your calendar, and what they call people now is your contacts. And the next three are related to the social side of SharePoint, your own personal area, which was called My Site, is now called SkyDrive Pro, or SkyDrive in this menu, and then your sites. And sites will get you through to your team site. So we're going to take a quick look through each of those now. So the Sites button doesn't take you directly to your team site. Now the reason for that is that you may have other sites and sub-sites that you're using throughout your organization. And as you become a member of that site and begin to use that site, then it is listed within the sites that I'm following. So it's quite a nice way to keep track of all the sites that you're frequenting. And as you see, this one's empty. But as you begin to visit, that site list will build up. So rather than taking you to the top level site and then you'll have to fumble your way through perhaps some navigation, then this is a nice central way to access all the sites that you work with. Now if we just click into the team site, you'll see quite quickly the difference between the 2010 and 2013 version of the products. As you click into these sites, as you see there, the URL was changing and it has to go through a login process. You'll see that familiar picture. That's there because it was in the previous version, SharePoint 2010, and we've performed an upgrade on this site, so it's retained the content from this team site. So you have a similar layout, but you can do many other things with it. But one thing I do want to show you, and it really does make working with documents a lot easier within SharePoint. I'm going to quickly create a document. Just call it new document, that's great. Nothing imaginative there. Put a bit of text in it. Saving, saving, saving. Okay. So one of the new features with SharePoint 2013 is the drag and drop of being able to upload your documents, and it's really simple as just dropping into that space there, and you can see it's queuing it up to upload it, and that document's now going to be part of the shared documents document library for your team site. So as that's uploading, we'll be able to, very shortly, there we go, we can now view that from within the web browser. So clicking on the document will open it up in Outlook Web, the Office web app, which is Word, and you can go in and edit it in either the Word web app, or you can open it up on your full desktop. We're just going to open up in the Word web app. And those changes are quite easy to see. So you see the Word web app is now very similar to the Word software that's on your desktop. We won't go into this too much detail, I'm just skimming over some of the features. So we've made our changes. We'll go back to our team site. So you notice the navigation up there, it's what you call a breadcrumb trail. So we go back one level to the team site. And once we've gone back to that level, I'll show you another thing about the new libraries. So as we hover over this, what they call the ellipse menu, this is a lot more functional, easier to use, but look, see, it gives you a very quick preview of the document. This is quite useful when you're having a look through many documents, you're not quite sure if that's the right one, and you can quickly have a look through. If this had more pages, you could even page through that document just to see a bit more detail and find out if you recognize that. And then you can decide whether or not you want to open it up in web app or open it up on your desktop. There's a lot more choices here about sharing this document. So I can click in here and copy and paste the link to that document. And if I was sharing this with another team member, and I could just send them a quick message, then they'd be able to look at that document and launch it from there. And that's a far better way of sharing the document than attaching it into email and sending it to many people. Why not just point them straight to the source? There's additional ways to share the document too with other people. So you can go in here and enter the name of people within your organization. And if your Office 365 administrator has turned on this feature, you can also share the document with external parties. So ask us later on if you want to learn a bit more about that. So that's a bit about document management. You could follow the document too, and let's just click on that because I'll show you what happens when you follow a document later on. So that might be a document that you want to be alerted about changes, and one of your colleagues might be working on the document and you just want to follow the progress. So follow is an appropriate word. So let's click over to our Newsfeed, which will show us what happens when we have followed the document. So I've loaded it up here. I'll just refresh the page because I've followed a document. Newsfeed is very similar to other social media products such as Yammer or Facebook. So the idea being that you can have conversations with people within your organization, and it's all in one central place rather than sending out an email and have people CC and BCC and all the like. That you can get a conversation going here and people can quickly engage each other with the different topics of conversation. Likewise, it's similar to Twitter, so you can give a conversation a subject just by putting in a hashtag, and let's just say I want to communicate with Malcolm Bramley. Hi Mel, how's the meeting? Just post that, and the idea being that Malcolm will get an alert because I've explicitly referenced him using the @ symbol, @Malcolm, and he'll be able to see that within his newsfeed too. Now remember when we followed that document that we just created moments ago, now I can see that I've followed that document, and if someone's to make changes to that document, then I would see another item in my newsfeed to say that such and such has changed the document. It also allows you to have conversations around the document too. So if Malcolm was to make a change to that document, then I could reply and say, hey, I really like the way you opened up that first paragraph, but have you considered these points? So it's, again, another way to have a conversation around something and get the rest of the team around it to engage and perhaps improve the content. So that's a quick look at the newsfeed. Now going over to SkyDrive Pro, which in this top menu is called SkyDrive. SkyDrive Pro, again, I mentioned, is what used to be called My Sites. So this is your place where you can store your documents and keep them personal. Perhaps some guidance around that. A number of organizations, they provide a home drive where you can have your own personal space and save your documents. But really, what you want to do is use this as little as possible. That perhaps you might want to author something off to the side and away from the eyes of the rest of your team, and then put that document into the team site where the rest of the team can engage and access that document. So what you want to avoid is having a whole lot of documents created in SkyDrive Pro and having to manage all the sharing and access that yourself. If it's a document that's meant to be shared with a team, then it's best to put it in your team site and in your various document libraries. But let's just have a look at the structure of this. So the shared with everyone folder makes it quite simple that if you wanted to share it with everyone, you put a document in there and people can look you up and find the document in Daryl's SkyDrive at Olympic Software Auckland. If we go back up a level, back to, there's a couple of other choices in their recent additions. You can see the documents that you followed, so I should be able to see, yes, that document that we followed. But also when people choose to share documents with me, I'll get to see a list here too quickly of what documents have been shared, and that's quite useful. Just the final panel there too shows you a quick list of the documents that I've been working with recently. I could go into a lot more, but that's SharePoint. SkyDrive Pro. Perhaps one other thing that you want to make use of around the document libraries is we're in the document library now. We can choose to sync that document library locally. So this is going to launch the SkyDrive Pro syncing software, and it's going to give me the option to connect this library and synchronize it to my desktop. So now we're seeing the SkyDrive Pro application beginning to fire up. Because this is the first time, it's going to ask me a couple of questions. And now it's got to the point where it's saying, would you like to connect to this library and keep a local copy? And here's where I'm going to save it. And I suggest that you keep it as the default, that it saves it locally in your user folder on your computer. Keep in mind when you're beginning to synchronize documents that there are some limits, and you don't really want to synchronize many documents locally. It's really just a convenience to have them with you, perhaps offline, and don't feel like you need to become a document hoarder where you've got a pile of documents and you must have everything offline, because it's really quite simple to be able to work with the documents once you've got a network connection. Just use it as a way to grab the documents that you want to use and work with currently. Maybe it's a current project or a current client that you're working on, and then at the end of the project you can choose to unsync the document as well. So now that we've synchronized that document, there's the document we created earlier. I've got a green tick to say it's been synchronized. And just looking at the structure here, this is File Explorer. I'm on Windows 8, but Windows 7 will look similar. And you have a couple of icons now down the side. And the SharePoint document library that we synchronize with is in this icon here. There's the document library name, and then the document itself is within the document library. So if there were more libraries that you'd synchronize with, they're going to be listed through here. Just a note too, you don't want to just well, you can't just drag and drop an document into this level to synchronize it. If you had another document, just make a copy of this. We're going to copy and paste that into SharePoint, into our team site library, paste. And that document's going to soon trigger off a synchronization process, and we'll see a green tick. So you've got the blue little recycling or synchronizing symbol, and now it's gone to green. And if we go back over here and refresh, there we go. So that's a convenience there to be able to make use of synchronizing to your team site document libraries. This SkyDrive here, no, that's the consumer product, and that's been installed on this laptop earlier. Okay, so just a final thing there too, as we've looked through SkyDrive Pro, through Newsfeed. I'm just going to show you some of the changes within Office 2013. Just a couple of things to note. So let's open up the document that we made earlier. Okay, so this is what they call the Backstage View. If you've been in Office 2010 for some time, or even Office 2007, you've got used to this ribbon menu and the structure of it. So all the file save as and file open choices are in this backstage area. File open and file save as. And we're going to go into open. And now this is something I want to show you. This area has changed between since the Office 2010 version of software. It's now got more choices to save the documents. So we've got a SkyDrive selection, and we've also got computer too. What will happen is you can sign into Office, and once you've signed into Office, then the different locations that you might be using in different areas will also appear here. So a SharePoint choice will be here too. In fact, I'm just going to show you that now very quickly. So within a Office product, we can go down to Accounts, or we can also go up to here and choose Account Settings. And I'm going to add a connected service. And this often will happen automatically as you sign into Office with your Office 365 user account. We'll just click into Office and add the SharePoint. So it'll expect you to put in all these usual details. First of all, it'll ask you for your address. And once you're authenticated, it will begin to connect to the SharePoint location. So that's a connected service now, and when I go to open, I now have this additional location to be able to get straight to SharePoint without having to open up my browser. Now if I know this is a recent document, and it's a recent document that I saved locally, and if you remember, I just dragged and dropped it into the browser. Now what I'm going to do is go to SharePoint. I'm going to go into the team site, and the second choice here at the top is my site, or my SkyDrive Pro site, the personal documents. I'm going to go into the team site. I'm going to find that same document. Oh, that was the library before that. Backup space. Shared documents. New document. So this is the experience you have when you're opening a document from the web to your machine. It will depend on how fast your internet is, but really it won't take too long to open up a document. It also depends, of course, on the size of the document. But as you can see, once I've opened it, I now have a local experience of being able to edit the document, and I'm not really restricted with what I can do. I make changes, and when I make those changes, then as I click save, you'll see the icon up there has a synchronize symbol, and that's because the document is going to save locally and then synchronize to SharePoint in one step. So as I'm doing that, you see it's uploading changes to SharePoint, and the changes were very few, so it was very quick. So that's the experience of opening and saving a document from the Backstage View. And you're going to ask me later on, how do I just save a document to my local computer? That's the final choice down here. So your computer, you can go to your My Documents, your desktop, you can browse to other locations. Let's just jump to our local SharePoint, so you can just go through your documents or your computer, C drive, wherever you've stored them, external drives, USB drives, whatever's hanging off your computer, you can put them there. Just one other thing to note there, if it's a location that you go to often and you want to just keep it at the top of the list so you don't have to lose your way, you can use this pin button here too to make sure that it will always be there. But like a favorite for saving your location of your documents. So there are a few changes there with the Office applications and saving. I'll just quickly show you too the experience in Outlook. Very busy screen, isn't it? Again, you've got your ribbon menu along the top. You've got your usual locations and mailboxes and folders down the side. You've got a list of the messages and then a preview pane down the right hand side. But I'll show you that you can change these different bars to be able to give you a bit more space, and perhaps I'll just tuck that link bar out of the way. That gives you a bit more focus on content. So I like to call this the Outlook Minimalist View. There's one more step that I'll just take, is perhaps just change this navigation to compact. Done. So it's up the side. And don't panic, you can still get into all your folders in here. Scroll up and down and dive into the various levels. So that, that's changed a lot. Being able to make those choices. But back to these commands. So within Outlook you're able to let's see, reply to Malcolm. So this reply becomes an inline reply. Notice it doesn't open up a separate window, that it's trying to reduce the clutter on your desktop and allow you to just reply to the message from within Outlook itself. It gives you all the usual formatting choices while you're in that view. So I could choose the from, and I could drop down and choose from different email addresses that I have the ability to reply as. There's many other things I could show you within Outlook. If we go into the Backstage View of Outlook, there's some of the usual choices there too. There's one thing I'd like to show you here which may be of use to you. Within your account settings, this might be delving deep into something that is a bit scary for you if you're not too technical, but this is a good choice. You can see that I've got my Outlook connected to our Exchange here, and I can change the amount of email that I download. So imagine I'm using my mailbox, which recently has been upgraded to 50 gigs. 50 gigs of mail. Are you going to use all that? I'd be pretty stretching it to try and fill up 50 gigs worth of mail. But let's say I want to reduce how much I download. So I'm using Outlook in what's called the cached mode. That means that if I didn't have an internet connection, I could still see my mail locally. And what I've done is, by default actually, within Outlook, it chooses to keep up to 12 months of mail. So rather than downloading 25 gigs worth of mail and sitting that on your desktop, what it will do is maintain a file with all your email, and it will just cycle out the older items and bring in the new ones, and all your older ones are still available offline. So I could dial it right down to 1 month. I only kept 1 month worth of mail. Finish. Of course we have to restart, but if I go down to the bottom of the list, if I restart and go down to the bottom of the list, there'll be a choice there to say search the server for additional messages. So I'm not reducing how much mail is in my mailbox, I'm just reducing what I'm viewing locally. So that's quite a nice feature too. And finally we'll just show you Lync, which we're using right now. This is Lync 2010. There's a few things that I can't show you because of course we're making use of it right now. I can't show you how to place a call and how to connect to various resources, but what I can do is just show you some of the views. So up here there's the what's happening message that you can put in so that the rest of your organization could see it, what you're currently working on, just a headline, I guess. You can set your location, so I'm at the Olympic Auckland office. And if you're at home, you can change this, and it will pick up, Lync will pick up the network structure of what you're connected to and change this automatically. So it's a nice way to alert the rest of your organisation, okay, I'm working from home, or I'm in the Olympic Auckland office, or the Wellington office, or something like that. We can click through and see some of the usual choices of calls, missed calls. You won't see this choice within Lync Online. We're using Lync connected to a phone system, so we get the ability to make phone calls too. And of course the online meeting choices. So we're running this Lync Online meeting now, we're recording it, and we've got the ability to, I'll show the stage view. So now I've got a view of what you're seeing with a never-ending mirror view right there. I'll just hide that. But you've got other various choices too. You can display the participants. You can mute, and of course we can dial. Here's our video. And this is the button you'll probably use most often within a Lync meeting, is being able to share your desktop, maybe just a specific program. You could upload a PowerPoint and share it from there. You may have seen Malcolm's whiteboard earlier as a welcoming message, and that's it there too. We can also run polls, so that will send out questions to the attendees of the meeting and get some responses back. But one other thing that has been added is a closer integration with OneNote. And if anyone knows me, I'm a big OneNote fan, and I do see a lot of value in integrating that with the Lync meeting, because it does bring together some of the notes, and people can collaborate and write down various things that need to be discussed in the meeting, and everyone can connect to that. So that's what you can do within the Lync meeting. You can attach or manage the notes and add the notebook to the Lync meeting for people to share. And attachments too. So there are some features there that if you've been using Lync Online already that you're familiar with. It's just the layout has changed a bit, and you can manage that presentable content too. I'm recording the meeting, so I can pause it, stop it, manage those recordings later on. We can manage some of the Lync meeting options. This one is particularly useful, especially if you're only working off one screen and you want to hear people coming in, is that you can tick this button to say announce when people enter or leave You might get a bit of a slightly robotic voice announcing or trying to pronounce the name as it comes in, but that certainly does the trick. So just to sum up really, you've got your administrative tasks email encouraging you to do some things. Some things are quite important, like putting on the service packs, upgrading from XP, security updates or various updates for Outlook. Some perhaps not so important. You don't feel that you have to upgrade from Office 2010 to Office 2013 straight away. However, later on next year, it is recommended that you do it by, I think it was around April 4th. That was announced. So yeah, some of those administrative tasks, they need to be done as well. SharePoint Online, it's good to upgrade those site collections. And you know, as I said, part of the purpose of this webinar is to answer some questions and explain a bit more about those tasks and what you need to do to get your tenant running properly again and up to speed after receiving your service upgrade. So thanks very much for attending, and be in touch if you need to get any assistance with these administrative tasks and any other questions you might have about the new Office 365. We're pretty keen to help you get the most out of these tools. So thanks very much, and we'll see you again.